would the summer blockbuster be without the pulse-pounding, high-tension, explosive, and action-packed films of the 80s? After recently watching a documentary called In the Search of the Last Action Heroes, I became absolutely enthralled with rewatching these classic films. Too many for just one list. Before we begin, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. At no cost to you, every new sub helps us achieve our goal and keeps us motivated to creating new content. With that being said, I'm your host, Jamie, and here are 10 more greatest action films of the 80s. Number 1, Beverly Hills Cop. I just want to start off saying I'm hyped for the new sequel coming out, Axel F. So I recently rewatched this trilogy. Not all of them have aged well, but damn, they were fun to watch. The film stars Eddie Murphy just around the time he was rising to star status, and co-stars Judge Reinhold and John Ashton. The plot revolves around Axel Foley, a plainclothes detective from Detroit who screws up an unauthorized sting operation and is put on temporary leave. He meets up with a childhood friend, Mikey, who talks to him about some German bearer bonds. And then later that evening, Mikey is murdered. Axel requests to be put on the case, but is denied. So he takes vacation time and heads out to Beverly Hills, where Mikey worked as a security guard. To make sure he doesn't get up to any trouble, 2 cops are put on babysitting duty, but they too find the crime going on to be compelling and often cover for Axel when he starts his shenanigans. An action-packed and funny film. You can check this series out over on Paramount Plus, Sling TV, and Netflix. Number 2, Escape from New York. Like James Cameron, John Carpenter had a knack for combining genres in a way that made them feel fresh. Set in the dystopian future of 1997, a crime-ridden United States has converted Manhattan Island into a giant maximum security prison. Kind of like Alcatraz, but 4 times the size. Suddenly, Air Force One is hijacked and crashes on the prison island. So the Secretary of Defense pulls ex-soldier Snake Plissken out of federal prison and orders him with rescuing the president in exchange for a pardon. Snake is soon deployed behind the high walls and meets a cavalcade of wacky criminal characters and fights an uphill battle against various gun-toting thugs, all while uncovering a conspiracy for a government cover-up. It's dark, gritty, and filled with tense action. So definitely check it out for yourself over on Amazon Prime, Fandango, and Google Play. Number 3, Top Gun. Several military pilot films came out during the 80s, including even a popular show about a super helicopter called Airwolf. But none had the impact that this film made. From the killer soundtrack to the boyish good looks and frenetic energy of its star Tom Cruise, the film completely captured that sense of adventure and rebellion in what was otherwise a simple film about 2 fraternal brothers in competition with each other to be the best. It's got it all: action, romance, sex, comedy, and tragedy. And spawned probably one of the hardest video games on the Nintendo Entertainment System. And eventually received a sequel titled Top Gun Maverick some 36 years later. To break it down, Maverick and Goose are the cream of the crop when it comes to being pilots in the military. That is, until they start attending Top Gun, the Naval Fighter School in Myanmar, and meet Iceman, a hotshot with unpredictable and lone wolf styles. During one exercise, Iceman's actions cause Maverick and Goose to lose control of their jet and eject, which ends up with Goose dying. Even though Maverick is found not guilty for the death, he personally cannot forgive himself and considers resigning. But his girlfriend and his father's co-pilot, Viper, convince him to stay on. So he returns to the school with a new ambition to prove he is the best and defeat his rival. Go check it out for yourself over on Amazon Prime and Paramount Plus. Number 4, The Killer. Starring Chow Yun-fat, there are several films with the same title. So to be clear, I'm speaking of the 1989 film directed by John Woo, who often collaborated with Chow Yun-fat, including films like Hard Boiled and A Better Tomorrow, 2 other films that could have easily landed a spot on this list as well. Basically, a hitman wants to retire after one last job, but during a shootout with a bunch of gangsters, he blinds a young nightclub singer and decides to spend the next few months watching over her to protect her. They eventually grow close and begin a relationship, and he learns that she needs a corneal transplant in order to regain some of her sight. Meanwhile, he's being hunted by a detective who's on his department's shit list for screwing up an undercover sting, and learns about Jeannie. Without spoiling the plot any further, it all ends up in kind of a Mexican standoff between all the players, and some enemies must team up in order to survive. It has amazing stunt work and cinematography, and the characters and drama are intense and compelling, so be sure to hop over to Netflix and Amazon Prime to check it out.
Hey folks, sorry to interrupt, but we just launched our very own merch store at fatninja.shop. We sell everything from t-shirts, hoodies, mugs, and more, so we would greatly appreciate it if you checked it out. All the proceeds go to our future projects, so it helps us make any kind of movies and short films that we want to make in the future. So if you got time, check out fatninja.shop. Thanks again, and back to the video.
Number 5, Roadhouse. Patrick Swayze was known for 2 things throughout his career: his undeniable romantic side, and his ability to kick ass while wearing cowboy boots. This film combines both of his talents in a story revolving around a small town titty bar where he's charged with keeping the ruffians under control, kicking ass when he needs to. He plays James Dalton, a man tormented with memories of a man he killed in self-defense by ripping out his throat, and is soon recruited by a Texas tycoon to head up security over at the Double Deuce in Jasper, Missouri. But Dalton sees some dealings going on in the club that he doesn't agree with, and decides to intervene. He tangles with a group of thugs who belong to Brad Wesley, which forces Dalton to then call in an old friend, Wade Garrett, to help him hold the place down after Brad threatens to kill him and his loved ones. Full of butt-kicking one-liners and plenty of broken bones, there's something about the smoothness of Swayze's style that just keeps you glued to the screen watching his every move. So make sure you check it out for yourself over on Amazon Prime, Hulu, Max, or YouTube Movies. Number 6, Police Story. Jackie Chan is mostly known for his more comedic action talents, as he is heavily inspired by the works of Buster Keaton. So when Police Story came out, it was a surprise for many at how well he is able to also do dramatic roles. The Hong Kong police force is planning a major undercover sting operation into a triad crime lord, but it all goes awry when some thug operatives spot them and a huge shootout ensues, resulting in several civilian casualties. Head of the task force, Raymond Lee, is assigned to protect Chu Tao's secretary, as she has decided to testify against her boss, and several assassins and gang members are sent after her, keeping him quite busy. Amazing fights, a deep conspiracy, and plenty of comedic stunts. Perfect to spend a Saturday afternoon delving into, and if you get hooked, there's 5 sequels in the series. You can check them out over on Max, Amazon Prime, and Apple TV. Number 7, Die Hard. Towards the end of the 80s, studios began to veer away from the overly muscular action hero trope and started looking at the average Joe type. Bruce Willis, hot off the presses for his role in Moonlighting, was that average Joe, and they transformed him into one of the heavy hitters of the next generation of action stars. A cop from New York is going to visit his wife and kids for Christmas. They're currently separated, and she took a job in Los Angeles. He loves his family and wishes he could fix things, realizing his stubbornness is at the core of why they split, and hopes that by showing her support and being a family man, he might rekindle that old flame. Too bad Hans Gruber and his associates have other plans, as during the office Christmas party, they storm a building and launch a hostile takeover. McClane is able to avoid them by sneaking into the air ducts and manages to contact a police officer nearby on street patrol. Working together, McClane throws a wrench into the criminals' plans. Even though the FBI shows up and they try to take over, and plenty of people are dispatched violently along the way. Action-packed, hilarious, and probably one of the best written action films. There are 4 more sequels in the franchise, so be sure to check them all out on Amazon Prime, Apple TV, and Google Play. Number 8, The Running Man. Based on a Stephen King story under the pseudonym Richard Bachman, this film veers pretty far from the source material. But that doesn't mean it's not entertaining from start to finish. Ben Richards is part of the local government police task force, and during a patrol is ordered to fire upon a location that has a huge civilian population. He refuses it, is taken down, but the other members and the district is blown to hell. Later it's revealed on the news that he did all this, basically framing him for the murder of a bunch of innocents, and he is sentenced to death row. In this future dystopia, though, a game show called The Running Man offers a chance to convicted killers to participate in this gladiatorial deathmatch in order to win their freedom. And the host, Damon Killian, pulls some strings to get Richards as a contestant. First of all, they put him in a bright yellow banana suit, which is just awesome. But then he must face 3 hunters while trying to reach the finish line. They are over the top and ridiculous. A man named Sub-Zero who kills people with hockey sticks on an ice rink. Dynamo is a dude with Christmas lights all over and some shot gloves. I mean, they all are wacky, but it somehow works. Would have made an interesting video game, I think. Anyway, it's greatly entertaining and easily rewatchable. So gather up some friends and check it out over on Fandango, Apple TV, and Google Play. Number 9, First Blood. I hesitated putting this film on the list, as I see it more as a drama than a straight-up action film, unlike the later sequels in the franchise. But it does have a wicked action-packed ending, so I think it deserves a mention at least. John Rambo is returning home from a brutal war where he saw friends and leaders get chopped to pieces, and a country that was ungrateful and labeled him a murderer for choosing to fight for it. He just wants to go home, find some place where he can heal and be left alone. But unfortunately, he runs into a local sheriff, who uses a personal bias against war protesters to arrest and detain Rambo, because he mistakes him for just another hippie vagabond. At first, Rambo complies, but then, after suffering some mistreatment, makes his escape and puts all his survival skills to the task by evading and outsmarting the local and state police force. During the manhunt, a police sniper is accidentally killed when he falls from a helicopter, and this is also pinned on Rambo. So he decides to fight for this injustice and take the war to them, launching an assault on the small town and police station headquarters. There are two endings, one which ends more like the book, resulting in the death of John Rambo, and the other was reshot and added to build a franchise. Either way, it's powerful and says something about the way our veterans are treated in this country. That many choose to serve to protect, but they don't always get to choose where they do this. And war itself is an ugly business. Make sure to watch the series over on Fandango, Apple TV, and Google Play. Number 10, Big Trouble in Little China. A very different take on stories like Journey to the West. This is kind of like the reverse of that, as we follow an ignorant American, average Joe, as he's dragged deeper into a mystery surrounded by Eastern mythologies. Jack Burton is a simple American truck driver who makes and wins a bet with a buddy of his, and accompanies him to the airport to get his payment. However, a group of street gang members belonging to the Lords of Death kidnap his friend's fiancée, and so Jack is convinced to help get her back. What starts off as a simple mystery soon explodes as we enter this underground crime world and discover ancient elemental warriors, an undead vampire, and an ambitious crime lord using mystical artifacts to gain power. It's wacky, explosive, and keeps you on the edge of your seat, and probably has one of the most hilarious deaths ever in action film history, which they replicated in live action in Dragon Ball Z during the Cell Games saga, when Cell blew up King Kai's little planet. Make sure to check this film out for yourself over on Sling TV, AMC+, Fellow, or YouTube Movies. Thanks for checking out the video. What's your favorite action film? Let us know in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to tap that bell icon to stay up to date with our latest releases. You can reach out to us on Twitter or X at StudiosFat, or chat with us on Discord, linked below. We recently launched our very own merch store, so be sure to check that out, also linked below. I've been your host, Jamie. Take care. See you soon.